Welcome to Awesome Movie Year, the podcast where we take a look back at an awesome year for movies, which is every year. I'm Josh Bell, film critic and writer, and I'm joined by my co-host.
Jason Harris, filmmaker, comedian, and I've just been informed he now prefers to go by they man.
Timely joke from Jason.
Yay.
So that's the kind of quality material you can expect in this episode. We are here somehow already at the finale of our season on the films of 1985. And as we always do in the finale, we offered our lovely audience a themed choice of a few different movies. The theme this time, animated movies based on toy lines, the possibilities for the Care Bears movie, Rainbow Bright and the Star Stealer, and the winner, He-Man and She-Ra, The Secret of the Sword. So thank you to everyone in the Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces.
Thanks to none of you.
Group.
Why did you pick this? What the hell? Fucking Care Bears and Rainbow Bright. What are we doing, idiots?
Do you think those other movies would have been better?
Care Bears, I think, would have. I remember seeing Care Bears in the theater, maybe. So I think Care Bears would have
like
been.
5? Do you think your taste was sophisticated?
What I can tell you is after watching this, I question what all of us were liking as kids at that point.
I mean, that's fair, but I feel like among these choices, the reason for this is to sort of be amused/horrified by the trend of these animated movies that were essentially feature-length toy commercials rather than to appreciate their cinematic merits.
Well, that's a good thing because I did not appreciate the cinematic merits of this one.
Nor did I, certainly. But yes, thank you to everyone in the Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces Facebook group who voted in this poll or commented. We always appreciate the audience participation. We would not be able to do this episode without audience participation. We'd have to draw it out of a hat or something like that. So we definitely appreciate the votes. And hopefully the people who voted for He-Man and She-Ra will not be too disappointed in our reaction to this film.
Jason!
The best part of this movie is the theme song, is it not?
It is, Josh. The two theme songs are by far better than anything else in this film.
Yes, yeah. And so we start out with that, and it's like, okay, cool. This has got some kind of 80s kitsch to it, right? I think about, what's his name? Stan Bush? Is that the guy who does the Transformers?
You got the touch!
Yeah, exactly. Like, that kind of thing. It could be fun. And the movie itself does not live up to the theme song.
No, it doesn't. And there's really no way around that. The only respite is that they play the theme songs like 8 times in the movie for each one of them.
And part of the reason is that this is basically a mashed together edit of 5 TV episodes of the She-Ra Princess of Power TV show. Basically, this was released in March 1985 in theaters as, I don't know if people knew at the time, if it was promoted this way, that this is essentially like the first 5 episodes of the She-Ra TV show. The show itself didn't premiere until 6 months later on TV. My guess is if they wanted to entice people to come to the movie theater and pay money to see this, that they didn't necessarily advertise that it was just going to be aired in chunks on TV 6 months later. But that is, in fact, what happened. It is edited together a bit. I think if you watch the episodes, there's other elements to divide them up episodically. But really, this is just a bunch of TV episodes crammed together.
Yep. Each one is terrible as the next.
It is.
So, yeah, it was like, it's a backdoor way to pilot something like, hey, look at what we're doing. You like He-Man. Now we're introducing She-Ra. And now we're going to show you She-Ra, and then we can take what was in the movie theater 6 months later and rebrand it as the Sword of She-Ra and put that out. And also, here's comics of this thing that you're seeing.
Right. And the He-Man TV series, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, had actually ended at the end of 1984, which I didn't realize. And
that's ridiculous.
So this was kind of, so again, I feel like that might be part of it. It was like, oh, the TV show is over. Now go to the theater and watch the continuation of He-Man's adventures in the movie theater, which makes sense from a marketing standpoint. But I think because He-Man was rerun so heavily and was also, released on VHS and things like that. I know for me as a kid in late 1984, I was probably too young to be into He-Man yet. So I probably didn't even get into He-Man until it was already in reruns, but it was just so ubiquitous and still so popular that, I became a fan as a kid. And this was part of it. So it was He-Man, the show had ended. We get this movie, and then the She-Ra show is launched on the heels of this film later in 1985. And ran also for 2 seasons. 2 seasons, 95 episodes. The seasons of these cartoons are very long.
Yeah, I think I probably was a fan at this point. I had all the action figures, and I remember when the live action Masters of the Universe came out, my dad was going to take my brother and I, and we ended up on a wild goose chase, like all afternoon. Theaters that had advertised it either weren't showing it or didn't exist anymore.
Oh, that's crazy. So, I mean, I definitely was a fan.
Actually, I take that back. I did see this in the theater. I just confused that with the Transformers movie.
Okay. So you're talking about this you saw in the theater or the live action one?
No, the live action. I didn't see this piece of trash in the theater. F that.
Yeah. No. I mean, and I would say, like, I was a huge He-Man fan as a kid. I had all the toys also. I just am not sure, like, how old I was. And I feel like maybe at 5 years old, that seems like it was a little young to get into He-Man. And I was maybe more like 6 or 7. So that's why I was watching, reruns of the show. But it was still very, very popular is my point. So yeah, I had tons of He-Man toys. I did not see this in the theater, but I definitely saw the live action one. I'm not sure if I saw it in the theater or saw it later on VHS, but that was my, He-Man thing and all the toys. So very much into He-Man. And I feel like, this was a thing that kids in the 80s, it was like I don't know if it was the number one thing. It was more popular than Transformers or G.I. Joe, maybe not, but It was up there, certainly.
Yeah, those are the big 3. Sorry, GoBots.
GoBots. I liked Mask. Were you into Mask?
Ooh. I didn't, not the show, but the toy Mask was good. I also like the shirt tails. Remember the shirt tails? All those animals with different shirts and everything. So
I don't know that one, no, but I definitely had Mask toys. They had the figures that were really small for Mask for some reason.
I mean, Josh, you're talking about the movie with Cher and Rocky Dennis, right? You had that toy.
Spawned a toy line. That's a strange thing to happen there, but it was the 80s.
Yeah.
So no, it was an acronym, Mask. I don't know what it stood for, but some ridiculous, task force of some kind or whatever. But yeah, I definitely was into that. And this movie, it was smart, even though they basically were just repurposing TV episodes. It worked out really well. It grossed $7.5 million on its budget of $2 million. And again, they got to reuse it to launch the She-Ra TV series, which lasted for 2 seasons. And they were really just milking the audience here for this He-Man stuff back in the day.
Yeah, you money-grubbing capitalist pigs. Look what you did to us.
I mean, that is like He-Man almost more than anything. I mean, along with Transformers and G.I. Joe and Mask, was this whole trend where the entire mythology, the characters, everything was invented with toys first and story second.
Yeah, this definitely comes from the Jaws and more than that Star Wars lineage, right? Of like taking something that's good and then building ancillary revenue streams and now reversing it and now making something that's bad just so we can get more revenue streams.
Right. And I think Star Wars is a great example because with Star Wars action figures, which started out as like Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader and Han Solo, but they were so popular that they had to make action figures of every tiny little background character. And they're looking for what new way can we make action figures? And so with He-Man, they say, hey, if we start with the action figures, we can make as many characters as we want with action figures and then just cram them into some cartoon. And that's what they did.
Were you a big Cringer fan, Josh? You have a big Cringer action figure?
I mean, I'm sure I had Battle Cat, the
alter ego
cat that Cringer turns into. I don't know if there was a separate Cringer figure. I mean, I had tons of them. The one I remember the most for some reason was Triclops, the guy who has 3 different eyes on his head in like a little rotating thing, and you could turn the action figure, you could rotate it to have the different eyes. And I feel like I really liked for whatever reasons, when they had like some little clicky thing that moved, I definitely had the ones that they later on created where you could get them to get battle damage. Do you remember those? And so like they were normal, and then you kind of press on the chest and it flips over and they've gotten, injured or whatever. Did you have those ones, Jason?
I just remember that He-Man always looked like he was in his underwear.
Yeah, well, he basically is, and he's got that, bondage thing on his harness, like he's in a dungeon of some kind. So I also, for some reason, and I don't know why this is, but I love taking the arms off of the He-Man action figures.
That says so much about it.
They were very easy to pop on and off, and you could switch them up. So I would put the arms of the one figure on the other figure and turn them into some sort of like Frankenstein He-Man creation or whatever. But I think at one point I took all the arms off and I couldn't figure it out. And I'm pretty sure my mom or dad could tell you this. I'm pretty sure at one point I had to ask for help and lay out all my He-Man action figures with the severed arms and get my parents to put the arms back on.
Josh, I'm going to ask you the same thing I asked Dave. You spent a lot of time alone as a kid, didn't you?
Yeah, I don't know if I played He-Man with any of my friends, but I might have. I think I played G.I. Joe with friends. I think that was more the one that other kids were into. So, Dave, were you a He-Man guy as a kid?
I loved He-Man, and it was probably my favorite. And I don't remember if I watched this. I probably did. I ate up every single piece of He-Man, everything I could get my hands on. So I think I probably did.
Did you have the battle damage action figures?
Oh, yeah. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, this was definitely not my favorite as a kid. And now watching it, I think when we were growing up, we were, boys. So we're like, oh, He-Man's better than She-Ra. She-Ra's way better than He-Man now.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, I was thinking, I also did not watch this movie either in the theater or later on. And for whatever reason, even though I loved the He-Man show, I don't think I ever watched the She-Ra show, which is just totally sexist of me.
Pig.
Yeah, it really is.
Unbelievable misogyny.
I know. I also don't remember any moment like with friends or like, oh, we're not going to watch She-Ra because she's a girl. It just never even came up, I think. So,
Josh. She-Ra or Jessica Rabbit?
In terms of which cartoon character you want to fuck? Is that what you're asking, Jason?
Hey, Josh, I'm just asking you a question. You answer it however you want.
I mean, She-Ra is a powerful woman. I'm going to go with She-Ra, I think, maybe.
Oh, you don't need a safe word for that. I'll take the sultry
He-Man's already got the bondage gear, so...
Are you going to let the unicorn watch?
Well, a unicorn means something else in the parlance of this whole scene. So
what does that mean? I don't know what that means.
I mean, a unicorn is usually like when a couple is looking for a threesome.
Oh, right.
And a unicorn is because it's rare to find the woman who will be into both halves of the couple equally, I think is what that term refers to. But we're really getting off track on this children's movie. So, although this was popular, not surprisingly, critics were skeptical of this as a cinematic, piece of entertainment.
And Josh, I don't often agree with the critics, but before you're even reading it, I agree with the critics.
Yeah. So Janet Maslin in the New York Times said, "The Secret of the Sword is a Saturday morning kiddie cartoon stretched out to feature length, which by some lights is an awfully long time. It stars He-Man and She-Ra, who are much loved by a large segment of the under 5 population and by parents who don't mind the martial attitudes they affect or the sexual stereotypes they embody. He-Man looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger and has tree trunk thighs. She-Ra has a cute little nose and a cheesecake physique. He-Man's special sword gives him magical powers. Freudians take note. The film is animated in a very conventional fashion and punched up with occasional chants of He-Man or She-Ra when the action gets slow. Its plot is complicated, but entirely predictable."
The plot's not complicated. It's stupid and non-existent and dumb. And the only complication is that it doesn't make sense.
Well, right. I think that's the idea of the complication where it's like, oh, it's all like portals to other dimensions and secret long lost siblings and various, betrayals and whatever, but none of it matters. And ultimately it's like the good guys beat the bad guys and everybody's happy at the end. And that's all that really is important. Right?
I wasn't happy at the end, but in my defense, I wasn't happy at the beginning or middle either.
Yeah, no, that is a fair assessment. So if we want to continue on the psychosexual aspects, yes, obviously He-Man's very phallic sword giving him the ultra masculine physique is a bit, Freudian there.
And is very phallic penis too, Josh.
That too, which we don't see, although, he is in his underwear, as we pointed out. Yeah. So this is one example of the male character is more scantily clad than the female character.
Very disappointing for you.
Yeah.
But why do you say that the sword was phallic? It's a sword.
I mean, swords are phallic, but the way he uses the phallic symbol to acquire this hyper masculine power, I think.
Right. He's got to be, as David Harbour says in DTF St. Louis, full on to have his power. So
right. Exactly. I mean, although it doesn't have, I always confuse this too with Thundercats, which is very, very similar. And I think Lion-O in Thundercats, when he gets his power, he doesn't transform, but I'm pretty sure he has the sword where the sword gets bigger. And that is about as phallic as you can get.
What do you think the equivalent should have been for She-Ra? Where should her sword have been put?
I don't think we need to discuss that. Yeah, she also, right. And that's the thing. Maybe we can.
Why is the sword vibrating?
She also needs a phallic symbol in order to acquire her power rather than, a feminine symbol like we could speculate on. I don't know what that would be, and we should not say. But it is interesting that they use a phallic symbol for She-Ra as well.
Yeah, maybe she could have just had a little dagger and just put it right in the right spot.
Yeah. So Mark Salisbury in Time Out said, "It is a dark and stormy night in this animated feature. Prince Adam of Eternia, alias He-Man, is summoned to Castle Grayskull and magicked to Etheria to quest the meaning, that is a good word, of the secret of the sword, a secret worthy of dynasty. In the Whispering Woods, our Aryan hero teams up with Swish Bo against the evil Hordak, leader of the Horde, whose villains include Shadow Weaver and other Mattel characters from the TV series He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. Magna Beam transporters are no defense against good manners. There is the usual gamut of silly voices and gang of goody-goody creatures, including a gluttonous green tiger, but the cuteness is kept to a minimum. The amalgam of fairy tale, sci-fi, and Greek mythology is exciting, the background's dynamic, the music catchy, the pace furious. Kids will love it."
What the heck, bro? Like, what are you doing? Does this need this much of a... I feel like that's really overdoing it for it feels like a tryout review. Like, can you write an adult review for He-Man and She-Ra? I don't think any of that was necessary, Josh.
All right. I wonder, as long as we're on the psychosexual topic, he implies here that Bo is gay. Is that what did you get that out of Bo, She-Ra's sidekick?
I didn't, but I'm all for it. Did you get that? Or
no? I mean, I think he's using a stereotype there because this guy has got like he's got a heart on his costume that maybe
that's so gay,
right? That implies that he's gay. I mean, he's calling him a swish here, which is certainly not a word I think that we would use now in a descriptive way.
Maybe a twink. Review.
Yeah, I don't know, but no. I mean, I think, and I haven't watched again. Having not watched She-Ra, I don't know if he ever becomes She-Ra's like love interest. But this seems like a show where that doesn't happen. It's not like He-Man and Teela are hooking up or anything like that. Like romance doesn't seem to factor in to these the world.
He's got so much other stuff going on, Josh. He's got to protect the universe, man.
He does.
Who has time for banging his own sister?
I'm glad you brought that up and I didn't, because there were moments when I thought He-Man and She-Ra might kiss.
Of course. I was really rooting for it as much as I disliked this film. I was like, I hope you two just sex each other.
Yeah, a bit of a Luke and Leia vibe there, pre-learning about their parentage. So, but no, it does not happen. No kissing in this movie at all among any of them. So finally, TV Guide said, indistinguishable from any of the He-Man TV episodes or video cassettes in any
Agreed.
aspect other than length, which is probably a moot point at best. This is a ground-out effort designed to please the calculated expectations of He-Man's loyal audiences.
The only thing I could think is like if you were a parent in the 80s, you'd just be like, you just watch this. I need an hour and a half to myself.
Right. And I think that is probably what it was. And, in the 80s, it was a more lax parenting and you just gave your kid $1 or whatever, or $5 and told them walk down to the movie theater and watch the He-Man
man.
movie.
Crazy times, bro. I talk about it all the time. I might have mentioned this. Did I ever tell you about Manhunt, the game we used to play?
I don't know that you did.
It was it's team hide and seek, but it doesn't start until it's completely pitch black out. And like my mom, and you would be playing in neighborhoods. So you'd be running through people's backyards in the middle of the night and hiding. And then it would always take place on Clinton Avenue on the other side of town. And we'd get done at like 1 a.m. And my mom would be like, yeah, just walk home afterwards. And it's like a 30-minute walk home at 1 a.m. And like no one thought any different. Like, that could be unsafe. It's just a different time period, man. I would never let my child do that.
I never did stuff like that. And I don't think it was because I had overprotective parents like I wanted to and they said no. It just wasn't something that came up. I was at home tearing the arms off my He-Man action figures.
You got to remember, Josh, in Jersey, we had Action Park, which was a theme park designed to injure you. It was just a different time. But Manhunt just was an insane game that literally, there'd be 20 kids and everyone would be like, yeah, go ahead, play in the pitch dark, run through these people's backyards, come home when you're done.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy. I definitely didn't have that experience.
It was really fun.
I feel like we've been through, I guess, weirdly, we all liked He-Man, but none of us saw this movie in the theater or maybe even later on.
I had never seen this before and hope to never see it again.
Yeah, I definitely feel like if I had any level of nostalgia for like the He-Man cartoon, that watching this cured me.
It's over. Yeah, it's done.
It's not happening. I watched this on a DVD that was like a box set of the entire She-Ra TV series, and I was not at all tempted to be like, oh, let me watch some more episodes of She-Ra. Not happening. So anything else you want to mention about the background of this movie, Jason?
Well, Dave, you hadn't seen this either, right?
Well, no, not that I remember. And I barely remember anything about this series whatsoever. It was all just watching. I was like, is this really what He-Man was? Like, it was really confusing to me.
Yeah, I think too, I had only the vaguest. I didn't even remember. I was like, who is Cringer? And then I remembered Battle Cat, but I forgot the aspect where Cringer transforms into Battle Cat. So I think I'd rather just leave it with the fuzzy memories, really.
It's too late now.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, they ruined our childhood.
Anything else about the background of this movie you want to talk about, Jason?
She-Ra.
Yeah, we'll get, the theme song is, that's good stuff, Dave. Maybe you'd be inspired to create something.
Hell yeah.
So
let's do it.
We'll come back and talk some more general thoughts on He-Man and She-Ra, The Secret of the Sword. Welcome back to Awesome Movie Year. In this episode of our season on the films of 1985, we're talking about our audience choice pick, He-Man and She-Ra, The Secret of the Sword. And I have to think some of our audience members have those same nostalgic feelings about He-Man and She-Ra and this movie. And I wonder how many of them have watched this recently.
Yeah, I hope they watch it. And I hope they learn a lesson. And they're tortured the way that we were tortured. This movie was so bad, Josh. It's so bad. And, it's one of those things where I'm like watching and I'm like nodding off and I'm like, oh, I got to go watch those 10 minutes again. It's so bad. And then it's just repetitive of like, oh, now there's this bad guy. So we have to go into this portal. And now he's got another bad guy at this portal. And now it just is just terrible. And like the exposition, the explanation of She-Ra and who she is and how she is related to He-Man, just trash. This is just garbage, Josh.
Right. Well, obviously, She-Ra's existence had not been invented yet. So we have to have this retcon here where it's like, oh yeah, He-Man, you have a long lost sister who was taken from you, taken away when she was a baby. And also there was a magic spell cast, so no one remembered that she existed. And that's why we've never talked about her before.
Right.
And so they can insert her back into continuity and give her this level of significance. And I had forgotten that. I think I had confused this with Superman and Supergirl, who are cousins. And I thought, oh, isn't She-Ra He-Man's cousin? But no, she is He-Man's long lost sister. And she was transported as a baby away from Eternia, the world where He-Man and all his pals live, to Etheria, this other world that really is exactly the same as Eternia, but ruled by a different, faction. And we have Hordak, the villain, who is sort of like the knockoff version of Skeletor, the famous villain from He-Man.
So I was going to compare him to like Palpatine and Darth Vader there.
All right. Well, that's generous of you. But yeah, we get this dynamic that they've also inserted where now Skeletor was sort of like the protege of Hordak, who stayed behind in Eternia and established his own evil empire there. And now they have this rivalry between the two of them that, again, has never been mentioned before.
Yeah, their relationship's dumb.
Yeah.
Everything's dumb in this movie. Also, Josh, the guy who played Cringer and Battle Cat, maybe the most annoying voice actor I've ever heard.
So good.
I mean, all of the voices here are definitely annoying. But this is very much within the sort of mode of 80s cartoon voice acting. Right now we get like celebrity voices and whatever, but this is when we had voice actors. That guy is Alan Oppenheimer, the voice actor who plays Cringer and Battle Cat, also plays Skeletor and Man-at-Arms. This was what voice actors would do back in the day. They would just do all these different voices for different characters, and they would be very versatile in coming up with this. But I feel like also one of the things that I forgot, having not watched any of this stuff, is Skeletor has a real goofy voice. And I think, my main memory is Frank Langella playing Skeletor in the live action movie from 1987, who has this real gravitas. One thing about Langella, and you see this, if you watch the Power of Grayskull documentary, which I've seen, and they have these interviews with Frank Langella, and it's really kind of touching how seriously he took his role as Skeletor and how much like acting talent he brought to it. And so I have that in my mind as Skeletor. And then as soon as Skeletor started speaking here, I was like, what is this? He sounds like just some sort of goofy nobody.
How does he speak?
I'm not going to do it. But
I tried.
But I mean, am I wrong about this, Jason? Does he not sound kind of silly?
Like it's like if you put Shredder through a blender, maybe, or something like that. Yeah, they also, the funny thing is like the He-Man and She-Ra, and then the two parents all talk like this. Now we must go on another mission, right? It's very robotic. So all the side characters are so over the top to counteract that. And instead of counteracting it, it just is more annoying.
It is annoying, but I mean, I think that is maybe one way in which the creators of these shows are amusing themselves, right? Because they've definitely got a mandate from Mattel. Here are all these new toys that we've created. Make up backstories for them, figure out a way in which they fit together, build a story around them. Good luck. And you gotta entertain yourself along the way as you're doing that. So part of it maybe is giving them these goofy personalities and these silly voices and having them interact in this way so that you can be entertained as you're creating this soulless commercial for a product.
Well, that's why I wanted He-Man and She-Ra to have sex. Let's spice this thing already.
Yeah, well, I guarantee you that the writers' room for this show, that
if there is such a thing,
there were people speculating on that, at the time, even though they of course could not put it in the show.
I mean, Josh, are you able to explain this plot?
Well, I mean, part of it I have explained, right? The idea is that when He-Man and She-Ra were babies,
right,
were twins, Eternia, their world, was attacked by the forces of Hordak, the villain, and his horde, and Skeletor, his like right-hand man, who came from Etheria, which is this other dimension that basically just looks like Eternia, but is elsewhere. And Hordak was defeated, but he stole She-Ra, or what is her name? Adora is her real name. Adam is the real name of He-Man. So Hordak stole Adora away, And it's kind of almost like a fairy tale, like that one review mentions, like a Sleeping Beauty or something kind of a situation where she's raised unaware and she's got a magic spell cast over her mind so she doesn't question what's going on. And then also a magic spell was cast over the residents of Eternia so that they didn't know or didn't remember that Adam, He-Man,
You've exhausted me,
had a
sir.
twin sister. You wanted me to explain the plot, so I'm explaining the plot.
I'm just saying, you can keep going. I just need a water break. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Yeah. No. I mean, it is. This is what I'm saying is that, like, I think it's right to say that it's complicated and yet predictable. Like, it doesn't matter. There's a bad guy, there's good guys. They have to defeat it. I mean, the only sort of like nuanced element of this, if you could call it that, is that because Adora was sort of brainwashed, that she has grown up believing that Hordak, who has raised her, is good, that he is, the rightful ruler of Etheria, and the rebels are bad, and we should, like capture them and kill them or whatever. And she has to have her eyes opened by He-Man to show her privilege and to reveal how the world really works. And one could, if one wants to give this more credit than it deserves, say that this is maybe an allegory for a political awakening among a rich and privileged young woman who realizes the injustices that are going on in the world that she's been shielded from. Jason, thoughts?
Sure. Let's go with it, Josh. You're really putting something together here. I'm just gonna.
Did you find any modern day resonance to is She-Ra, is Adora akin to a MAGA follower who does not want to or will not learn about injustices being perpetrated by ICE?
And He-Man is the guy who's like, hey, I know I look like you, but guys, I'm really not one of you, or something along those lines. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was definitely brainwashed, Maybe she's like a Marjorie Taylor Greene, and she's coming out of it realizing what a piece of crap she was. And she's like, I'm not a piece of shit anymore. I care about humanity. I don't know. These are really fair points, Josh, and everything you say depresses me.
I mean, I definitely think, like I said, that I'm probably giving this too much credit, but there was something there. And I think if anything is in any way interesting beyond the surface crappy level, it is that idea that She-Ra has to be like cured of her brainwashing and have her eyes open to the injustices that are being perpetrated in her name in Etheria.
I think I can give you that, but it's just done in such a haphazard, sloppy way that like the points that you're making don't come across because of how badly executed they are.
And I think that's totally fair. I mean, I was looking for something to grab onto here, but I mean, I think also you can really see the seams of this being multiple episodes because, Jason, as you said, a lot of it is like, oh, now we got to go to this place and do this thing. Oh, wait, we defeated that guy. Now we got to go rescue this person. I mean, there's a sequence where they have to rescue Queen Angela, who I guess is like the rightful queen of Etheria, and her daughter, who also seems to have the hots for He-Man. Glimmer, did you get that, Jason?
I mean, Josh, everyone has the hots for He-Man, bro. Come on, everyone's got the hots.
And that's fair. I mean, look at him. But
he's a hunk.
He is a hunk. And that struck me when they're like, okay, we got to rescue Queen Angela. I thought, okay, this is probably the plot of one of the episodes, but it takes like 5 minutes to rescue her.
It's just going through another portal and pushing the bad guy away. That's the other thing that I really hated about this movie. There's a lot of fight sequences and action sequences, and they're all very bad. Like you don't ever see, like even in the old Batman, kapow! Like you don't ever see a blow landing or anything actually affecting. It's like here's a laser that shot, and then we cut to a shot of like a bad guy on the ground. Like there's no actual physical connection there.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's two aspects of that. One is that I'm sure there were standards.
I get that. I understand that.
But, made for kids. I mean, it's why on G.I. Joe, every time they shoot down the enemy plane, you have to see the pilot parachute out so that you know that they didn't die. The other thing is that just these are really cheaply made and the animation is terrible. And
nothing I couldn't believe. It's shockingly bad looking.
Yeah. It really is. I mean, especially because you watch like if you watch the modern equivalent of this, maybe it's poorly written and maybe it's cynical, but it looks so much better than this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's wild.
It's so stiff and so stilted. And one thing they do that I always find amusingly bad in old animation, where if they want a close up of a character, instead of creating a new frame with the character in close up, they just literally zoom the camera in on the same animation cell, and you can totally tell that they've done that.
Was that like was that a Weezer or an REM video that was all shot in like a wide, and then they just punched in whatever they wanted?
Yeah,
it was like a one-shot video that they did that with. But
yeah, but that's an REM,
right?
Video, I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
which one?
I think it's an REM video.
Yeah, I know. No, I know that was a technique that was actually used to make something artistic. Right. Whereas here it was just a cheap way to move along. Oh, Josh, can we stop?
Instead of creating a new drawing or finding a new camera angle to close up on this character, you just, zoom in on part of the existing drawing that cuts out the other. And it is very obvious. And it also, it's worse than if you didn't use a close up and you just kept to the wide shot, I think.
I just get more depressed with every passing sentence of this episode.
Yeah.
Let's bring Dave in to depress me more. Dave, you love this movie.
I loved it. Yeah, no.
What the fuck?
No, look, it's really bad, but I had a great time with it. I didn't realize that cartoons could be so bad they're good. I mean,
no, but this is where I disagree, because we just did the Gymkata and we talked about something that's so bad that it was good. What was so bad that it was good? This was just so bad it's terrible.
Well, I was laughing at it very much so. This isn't our Gymkata episode, so I don't want to go back into that. But I felt like I was laughing with Gymkata at times. I was laughing at it the whole time.
Did it make you feel that nostalgia, like you want to go back and watch old He-Man episodes?
It made me very confused about nostalgia as even a thing, because if this is that bad, how bad are some of the other things from our childhood?
Yeah, well, I think we've talked about, we just talked about Pee-wee's Big Adventure early in this,
which was good.
Right, which is great and holds up really well. So I don't think it's that everything was bad then, but stuff like this, I think stuff in this vein, all the cartoons that we've just been talking about, Thundercats and G.I. Joe and Mask, I guarantee you all of those are bad if you go back and watch them.
I don't know if they're all bad. If I watched old Inspector Gadgets, I think I'd still like that.
I mean, but in an ironic way, I think mostly, like the way Dave is appreciating.
Yeah, you just never know, because I love the Muppet Show still. I can watch a whole season of the Muppet Show. That's obviously, cream of the crop stuff we're talking about here. But
right. But I think if you went back and watched Muppet Babies, it would
be awesome.
Yeah, not so much. But no, I mean, I think there's just like now, there's a spectrum. There's stuff like the Muppet Show or Pee-wee's Playhouse that was created with a level of artistic value and where the people who created it cared about it and they put something into it. And there's stuff like this that is just churned out for the sake of selling toys. And I think it's probably the same now. If you have a kid now, you watch something like Bluey, maybe, right? Which has a lot of personal vision of that creator who is deeply involved in all of it. And then you watch something else, and I don't know because I don't have kids, but I'm sure there's other kids' entertainment right now that is just the same cynical garbage as this.
Did you get emotionally really, really caught up at the end where He-Man sheds a tear as She-Ra has to
That's
go back
a part
to
where I
universe?
laughed. That's definitely a part where I laughed.
No, but I will say that I noted that because this He-Man as a franchise at the time, and this movie especially, as we keep saying, is very noted in stereotypes, gender stereotypes. So the idea that they allowed the macho guy to shed a tear, I thought was actually kind of nice.
Not me, Josh.
No.
He's a real pussy.
So, Dave, not only did you like this, but you watched this with your wife, and she also liked it.
Yeah, well, I mean, she loves She-Ra, so it was great to revisit some She-Ra for this episode. We very much enjoyed our
Gina
time
has terrible taste in many things. I don't need to specify what else, but many things.
I hope that you guys go back and watch all 130 episodes of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe.
I hope we don't.
That is fair. So, I mean, Jason, I get the sense that you're over this, but I want to at least just give a shout out to Hordak's ability to transform into a rocket ship. I mean,
That's fair.
With his
that
face
is totally fair. Yeah.
With his face.
Yeah. No, that is a necessary point that needed to be made. So.
Yeah.
You would think of you could transform into a rocket ship. You could fight off a fucking unicorn, bro. Come on, man.
No, clearly not. But I mean, I just love how like goofy his face looks, and it's all like he can't move his face when he's a rocket ship, so he just kind of like flails about, when he's in that form. And it looks like, I think of like Terrence and Phillip from South Park, where their heads are just flapping around. Like that's kind of what this
rocket ship also cock-like, Josh.
Very much so. But the villain literally turns into a phallic symbol in this and thrusts himself about in this. So I feel like we found a lot of subtext in this ridiculous thing. So I don't know, Jason, is there anything that you were amused by here that you wanted?
No, I like the theme songs are like Hall of Famers. Everything else I hated in this film.
Yeah. All right. Dave, any other aspects of this that you particularly were entertained by?
I mean, you brought up cringe earlier, but I thought he was so funny.
I'm going to punch you so hard.
I haven't even eaten lunch yet.
Pretty good impression.
Bad.
Yeah, he does. His main characteristic is like is that he's always hungry. Even more so than being scared of stuff. He always wants. He's like the hobbits. He always wants second breakfast.
He just kvetches about it. The usual
kvetching
about Yiddish word. Just shut the fuck up, dude.
Yeah, maybe they should have called him Kvetcher. Would have
that'd have been better.
Easier? Yeah,
we have fucking universes to save, and you're worried about your goddamn cat food. Go fucking find a mouse and eat it, dummy.
He likes fish. Fish.
But weirdly, he eats the fish by like sucking the flesh off the bone. It was very disturbing the way he ate that fish.
The waiter was psyched to serve him some fish.
Everyone's sucking on something in this film.
I feel like we need to wrap up here. So do you want to rate this out of 5 phallic swords?
Yeah, 5 penis swords.
Yeah.
The movie gets like maybe 1 at most. The theme songs get 5. I gave it 1.5 overall of penis swords. But upon this conversation, I'm going to stick with the 5 and drop the movie to a 0.5. Oh. It gets a micro penis sword from me. That's it.
Oh boy.
I mean, I'm going to give it 1.5 penis swords as well, because I was kind of amused by how terrible it is at times. And I did in a way appreciate the counterbalance to nostalgia that this offers. Again, we've watched other things like childhood favorites that we are able to say that they hold up or that they're actually really well made. And this is not that at all. So I appreciate it for that. Dave, how do you rate this?
I'm going 3.5 because I had such a good time watching it. But it's very bad. It
validates what an idiot he is about Goonies. That's what I'll tell you about that.
Dave giving this 3.5 times the rating that he gave to Goonies. And you know what? Honestly, I'm not sure I enjoyed watching Goonies a whole lot more than I enjoyed watching this. A little bit.
Now I'm going to punch both of you guys at this point.
We'll come back and talk about the legacy of He-Man and She-Ra, The Secret of the Sword. Welcome back to Awesome Movie Year. In this finale of our season on the films of 1985, we are talking about He-Man and She-Ra, The Secret of the Sword. And as I was saying, like, the legacy of this in terms of its position in the franchise is that it served to launch the She-Ra TV series, which aired 93 episodes from 1985 to 1987. And during that period, He-Man, which had ended, which aired from 1982 to 1984, was continuing in reruns. And so both of these shows were really ubiquitous throughout the 1980s, I think. And He-Man was revived with new animated series in 1990, in 2002, and in 2021. So, I mean, I feel like these characters have just been ever present, like not only through our childhoods, but through our adulthoods as well.
Well, I referenced the Masters of the Universe film that gave us, I believe, Dolph Lundgren's first starring role, or at least on American in the American film world. And as of the recording of this episode, the trailer for the new He-Man movie, I think, is another Masters of the Universe, directed by Travis Knight, who we talked about on our animation episode this year. Came out the other day, and I like Travis Knight movies. This film looks terrible.
It really does. And I mean, I'm with you on Travis Knight, as we talked about in that Adventures of Mark Twain episode. The stuff that he's done with Leica has been great. And when he took on a live action movie based on another 80s cartoon,
I thought he crushed it. I loved Bumblebee.
Yeah, Bumblebee is very entertaining. There is not really anything in that new Masters of the Universe trailer that makes me think he'll be able to do the same thing with this property. I agree. It looks terrible. Nicholas Galitzine is the new actor playing He-Man, with Jared Leto as Skeletor. Although watching the trailer, I mean, Jared Leto clearly, like, I guess he was on set, but the Skeletor is obviously done all with like motion capture so they can CGI his face. And Jared Leto is doing a British accent. It sounds like it doesn't even sound like him at all. Yeah.
What I got from watching this was that they watched the 4 Matrixes and was like, how do we put all this together and put He-Man's name on it, right? Because like the structural device is like he's in an office and he's typing and they're like, I know there's a secret world for me out there. It was very Matrix. What was the last one? Revolutions, that last one, that kind of set up for that?
Resurrection.
Okay, yeah, it definitely felt like that. But everything felt derivative of something in this preview, and none of it like made me excited for anything. It just looks so bad. I will give Travis Knight the benefit of the doubt and try to watch this, but I really don't want to.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I mean, the 1987 movie, like I said, even though I enjoyed the cartoon and the action figures, that live action movie was really my like main He-Man thing that I, recorded on VHS off of HBO or whatever and watched over and over again. Dolph Lundgren as He-Man, Frank Langella as Skeletor, and the whole idea there where the He-Man characters travel to our world, which seems like something they're also trying to maybe recreate in that new movie. And, you got Courtney Cox as one of the like teenagers who teams up with He-Man. And I remember so much more about. I still think of like dumb lines from that movie, or the character they invented who wasn't in the cartoon, Gwildor, played by Billy Barty, who was this.
Was that the redheaded?
Yeah, and he had
dwarf.
This ridiculous voice. And I definitely not only watched this as a kid, but had enough of a sort of ironic appreciation for it to watch it into high school and maybe college. Because one thing I remember is always calling Gwildor dildo. And I definitely was at least old enough to know what dildo was when I watched
Get him.
Got him.
Yeah.
You got him. So good.
Clever stuff there.
But also, like you said, there's a lot of penile looking things. So dildo would work. The Masters of the Universe movie from the 80s is like a notoriously bad movie. But I wonder if we watched it, if we would feel that like it's just like there's some redeeming value to it, like Jim Cotta.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would not. I still literally have that VHS tape of it, and it was tempting to watch, but I'm sure it's bad. It's maybe not as bad as this animated thing that we just watched, but I doubt that it's any good. I did watch, one thing with the He-Man revival in 2021, Netflix, perhaps wisely, created 2 separate He-Man shows. One, a kid-oriented, new version of this to kind of continue that. But then Kevin Smith created Masters of the Universe Revelation, which is for adults and is very much this nostalgia pandering thing where it continues the continuity of the old show and all the characters have the same design and the animation is much better, but it has this darker tone. And I watched the first episode of it and I have to say, it's just a really sad, like, it's like the worst of both worlds. Like, it's still corny and dumb.
Worst of both worlds, Kevin Smith.
I know.
What?
I know. Imagine that. But it was well reviewed, and I don't see it. It's got all the corniness of the old show, but it awkwardly shoehorns in these like darker themes, and it just did not work to me at all.
Well, according to the kiddo, she says the She-Ra show is good. So yes, that's nice.
The new She-Ra Princess of Power or Princesses of Power, created by N.D. Stevenson, who's the creator of Nimona, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And that was also on Netflix. I was trying to watch that as well. I figured I'd watch an episode of each of these things. But of course, Netflix, in their awesome wisdom, has removed it. and is no longer available to
Well,
stream.
it's a good thing that we heard it's good from Scarlett.
I believe it. I mean, she's not the only one. That was also, highly regarded. Allegedly, there is a She-Ra live action series in development at Amazon. Maybe that'll happen. Maybe that it won't. But I mean, again, it's mind-boggling that this property.
Let it go. It's done.
Yeah.
We don't need any more of this. Let's move away from it. So.
I agree, and that documentary, "The Power of Grayskull," is an interesting. A lot of what that is too is like all of these designers and writers and things talking about how like, hey, we were tasked with like creating backstories for these toys, and here's how we figured it out. And it's ridiculous to learn like how they had to reverse engineer all this stuff. So it's an interesting documentary.
All of these actors were prolific voice actors. John Erwin in the Archie show also acted in Back to the Future 2. He played He-Man. Melendy Britt, who is She-Ra, was in the film Being There and was on Cheers. Alan Oppenheimer, who just annoys me, was in Get Smart and the $6 Billion Man as he's Skeletor. Linda Gary as Tila was in The Land Before Time. George DeCenzo, Hordak, was the grandpa in Back to the Future. Erica Scheimer, Queen Angela, was in Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids. And Lou Scheimer as King Randor was an exec producer for Filmation.
So yeah, Filmation is the production company that created these shows and this movie. I mean, all of these people, like I said, this is the way that voice acting was, and they're doing tons and tons of voices and all different things. I did find it amusing that, of course, the kitsch appreciation of this is that John Erwin, showed up on Family Guy to voice He-Man in some little bit. And
yeah, that's great.
Alan Oppenheimer did the voice of both He-Man and Skeletor in Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers, the Akiva Schaffer movie that came out just a couple years ago. So, I mean, that's the level of what's going on with these people. It's like, we got an amusing little He-Man bit. Like, let's see if we can get the original voice.
Yeah, why not? You should go for it, If people want it, why not?
So I do also want to shout out Robert McCollum, who's the director of that documentary and is either is or used to be a Vegas local here, who also directed a Nintendo documentary. And that was kind of why I had checked that out. So cool to have.
It sounds like we should just watch the documentaries.
Yeah. I think you should. So also one other thing, Gwen Wetzler, who's one of the directors here, was the first woman to direct and produce animation for a major network and directed and produced a ton of animated projects into the year 2000, after which she basically retired. But, there's some credit to be given here for pioneering some stuff, maybe? No.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Fair enough. So, anything else you want to say about the legacy of this movie?
The legacy is I hate it.
Yeah, that's fair. I think you're right on though. If anyone, I was going to say if you're not familiar with He-Man, but honestly, even if you are familiar with He-Man and you have the nostalgia like that we have, don't watch this. Watch that documentary. You'll get all that you need out of it.
Do we think either of the other two picks would have been any good?
I think the Care Bears movie would have been better.
I don't know about that. Like the Care Bears movie is another thing. I definitely watched that multiple times as a kid, especially because my sister, I think, was really into the Care Bears and we watched it together. But I would be shocked if that holds up well. I really don't think any of these are good.
Well, thankfully, our asshole audience just gave us this. We love you guys.
Thank you, audience. So that's He-Man and She-Ra, The Secret of the Sword. That's this episode and this season of Awesome Movie Year. You can check us out online and on social media.
We're at awesomemovieyear.com, Awesome Movie Year on Facebook and Instagram. I'm Jason Harris Comedy or Jay Harris Comedy on all the things. Go for Jason on Letterboxd. If you watch one of our movies, tag it with Awesome Movie Year.
You can find some old things from me at joshbellhateseverything.com. I am at Josh Bell Hates Everything on Facebook, at Signal Bleed on Blue Sky and on Letterboxd. And check out our producer David Rosen's awesome podcast, Piecing It Together.
Check out Piecing It Together wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow us on social media at Piecing Pod and join our Facebook group Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces, where a lot of the voting happened for this episode and lots of great people are hanging out.
I got punches for all of them, not just you two. I got a lot of punches.
Thank you to everyone in the group who votes in our polls. We would not have these episodes without you. We very much appreciate it.
That's exactly what I said.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Jason, what's in our next episode?
Am I plugging? You know what I'm going to plug, Josh? The epilogue, because that's our next episode.
Good call.
Josh, it's the epilogue of 1985. The definitive word on the films of 1985.
Yes, we will look back on our season and everything we did and didn't talk about in this season. So tune in next time for the 1985 epilogue. And thanks for listening to Awesome Movie.
Thank you for listening to Awesome Movie Year. Make sure to follow Awesome Movie Year on Facebook, at Awesome Movie Pod on Twitter, and at Awesome Movie Year on Instagram. And if you like the show, review us and rate us with 5 stars on Apple Podcasts.
An All Points West production, produced by David Rosen in Las Vegas.